Welcome to the TIMFD podcast. Today is my favorite day is about appreciating every day as it comes, no matter what life throws at us. We hope that this podcast speaks to you, and if it does, please like, share, and comment. Now let's find out why today is our favorite day this week.
Well, welcome back to Today is My Favorite Day. Obviously, I don't have David Towner with me here today. As promised, last go round, I have with me Alex Korn, who is our producer, director, and generally just keeps us on track. And we're going to talk about financial peace. Now, if there are tech issues today, you have to understand that David Towner is behind the tech booth. So, but Alex will probably clean it up anyway. So, Alex, welcome.
Welcome. Thank you.
Good to have you. Welcome, I think. So we're going to talk about Financial Peace University. We're getting ready to run a class here at the church. We're going to start it on February 9th, correct? Isn't that the date we decided on earlier?
As far as I remember, yes.
Okay. So you've taken Financial Peace, and we're going to present this. Alex is single. I'm married. And we're going to present this from two different points of views. Correct? That's what our plan is anyway.
That's the idea. We'll see how it goes.
Okay. And so you've done Financial Peace.
Yeah.
What, in all the different lessons, budgeting, insurance, credit cards, all that kind of stuff, what is something that stands out to you when you went through that really helped you?
Well, so the interesting thing is I've had a budget since, as long as I've been working, making money. I started at a gas station while I was in college and started a budget about the same time, just kind of coincidentally. And the interesting thing is, I sort of feel like I know how to budget at this point, but it's like every time I go through FPU, it's like, oh, there's another thing that I probably should have a line item in the budget for rather than just throwing into some larger bucket or whatever. So last time I went through it, I created specific sinking funds for Christmas gifts.
Right.
So when December comes, I don't suddenly have lots of money coming out of just my general fun spending on a whim money.
Yeah, and Christmas comes every December.
Yeah, it's kind of predictable that way.
Yeah, it is predictable. So, and the holidays are predictable. And Alex has a great point here, and that is that you have a fund for everything. And that's part of the thought process behind Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace University and the budgeting side of it. And most people forget those things.
Yeah.
Now, you don't have to worry about oil changes, but most people don't budget for their car expenses.
Yeah, again, last time I went through Financial Peace, it just occurred to me I should probably have a fund for my SunPass tolls,
Right.
That comes out every so often. I don't do a lot of driving on the veterans or whatever, but when I do, sometimes I have to re-top up my SunPass account, and that comes out, and it's like, oh, that's, $25 out of my spend on a whim money that could have been planned for.
Right. Or you could have done something more fun with it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly, right? And so, and this is an issue I run into in my coaching business, and that is, I'll just tell you a funny story. Guys, he's coming and he's $700-800 short every month, right? And so we're talking about his payment and his trailer payment, his lot rent, his utilities, and car payment. What's your car payment? Well, I don't have a car payment. Okay, well, you don't have a car payment. And my thought process is, he doesn't have a car payment, right?
Yeah.
And we're on and on and on, and it just doesn't add up. And I finally said, how do you get back and forth to work? Oh, my truck. I said, how much is the truck payment? $750 a month. Well, duh, there you go. And so, and that's, just a funny part of the coaching side of it. But until people really, he didn't have it in his budget.
Yeah.
Because the line said car payment. And so, but those are some of the things that when you start looking at budgets with people, and that you can help them through.
Yeah.
And from your perspective, my perspective, I do that. The first time I did a budget with my wife, you know what I forgot? Her haircut, her nails, stuff like that women do that we don't.
Yeah, exactly.
And so that's why if you are married in a relationship, you should have a joint budget. If you're planning on getting married, you should be at Financial Peace University, because that will be your number one issue if you don't discuss it prior to the marriage.
Absolutely, yes.
You think that's right?
Well, I'm not married, I'm single, but I would imagine absolutely yes, because finances affect everybody.
Right. And, you've been used to your own finances. Someone comes into your life and now you have joint finances. If you don't talk about that.
Oh, yeah, tell me about it. I'm not sure I'd necessarily consider myself a saver, but I try to be responsible and, force myself to save,
Right.
If I'll be happy to go spend money on stuff if just left to my own devices. But I understand the piece that comes with having a plan for everything.
Right.
So I save and prepare for things. But yeah, I can imagine that if, got in a relationship, had joint finances, and she just starts spending without us talking about it, there's going to be, resentment building, which can fester into all kinds of things if you don't deal with it.
Yeah. The upside to us is we do program here at the church that would help us walk through that process.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So help us deal with
but
that.
But ideally, you don't let it get to that point.
You don't let it get to that point. Exactly. So one of the other areas that we'll get into is insurance. Mm-hmm. And insurance is not just car insurance, life insurance. There are many types of insurances out there. And one of the things that most people don't do is review their insurance. When was the last time you reviewed your insurance?
Well, semi-recently, actually.
Okay.
I pay in full. I don't have auto pay on my car insurance. I pay in full every 6 months. Saves me about $100 a term or whatever. Right. And if you can save for it, then it's not a problem. Right. The 6 months rolls around. It's already budgeted for. You just pay for it and don't worry about it. So every time the 6 months goes by, I just I check on things, see if everything still looks good to me. That kind of thing.
Yeah, and that's one thing a lot of people don't do, and they've been, I've been with my State Farm agent, or I probably shouldn't have mentioned the company, but you can edit that out later. I've been with XYZ company for 20 years, and Joe over there, he takes care of me. Yeah. Joe's making a commission on your car insurance, guys, and your life insurance and everything else. That's how they get paid. So you have to review it. Now, I'm not advocating jumping insurance companies every 6 months or every year or something like that. That's not what I'm saying. But you sit down and you can go online, get a quote from any number of companies. Yeah. And then you go back to your insurance agent and say, hey, Joe, I just got a quote and 2 quotes over here, and they're both, $100 every 6 months or $200 every 6 months cheaper than what I've been paying. Show me the difference. Yeah. Maybe Joe's got something in there that you're not aware of. On the other hand, Joe's probably just making an extra couple $100. Probably. And so what about life insurance? Have you considered that or?
So I got a financial planner some years ago, and he talked me in one of those whole life policies that, went through FPU, and Dave Ramsey's like, the one thing you don't get is a whole life policy. I'm like, I better talk about that. And, I got it canceled. My advisor gave me a hard time about it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And, it's a critical part of your, look, I reviewed the numbers myself. They don't add up. Yeah. I got that canceled. I don't have any life insurance at this point because I don't have any dependents. Okay. And as far as I remember from last time we did through FPU, that's primarily what it should be for, is for your dependents to cover the expenses of, your lost income, and, all the other stuff that just would come with, should it be needed. Yeah. My estate, as it were, would cover my funeral expenses. I do need to get a will together.
There you go. That's another topic.
I know. That's another thing Dave Ramsey covers. I know I'm young, but anything could happen at any point.
Well, and one of the areas that ties into is you have a will, a living trust. You have what happens if you get into an accident and or you're on life support or whatever. I know what my family knows what my wishes are, but if it's not written down, it doesn't happen. And then what you do by doing that is you take the emotional decision out of everybody else's hands. Yeah. Sam said this is what he wants if this is a situation. Yeah, and so absolutely. It takes that burden off of your family.
Yeah, and I can understand. We just lost my grandfather just about a year ago now, and he was a very career military Air Force guy. He had everything meticulously documented. There was wills in place and everything, right. And it was still a big deal to get through all that.
It is.
So yeah, the last thing you want is your family having to figure out where your money is, right? What your wishes were for it when you're going through all that.
And if you don't have it, the state tells you.
And that is
probate here in
very
Florida.
Much the last thing you want is the state figuring it out.
You don't want the government coming in and saying this is what you're going to do with your money. So yes, it will. I have a client who she will retire at 59 and a half. That was her goal when we started working together. And same thing. She had a whole life policy, and she had enough in that whole life policy to pay off her house.
Wow.
Okay. And so she did, and she had everything in plan. Now, she had like 4 different retirement accounts. She's pulled them all together, and there's a whole bunch of stuff there. But she went in and she picked the funds she wanted to be in. Now, this was pre-COVID, about 6-8 months before COVID. She was very heavy into medical supplies and equipment.
That's kind of fortunate.
And then COVID hit. And so she's doing really well. She will be able to retire. But what she did, she's taking care of her parents. So I asked her, I said, what happens if something happens to you?
Right.
And you're taking care of your parents. You're getting them to their doctor's appointments. You're driving them. I said, what happens? And she said, I never thought about it that way. And I said, so she went out. She's young enough and in good enough health. She got a very large policy that will take care of her parents if something happens to her. And I said, so in the event that, there's your parents do pass before you do, what are you going to do with that policy? And she said, well, I'd probably cancel it, but it's not very expensive because of, where she's at and the amount of money it is. And I said, so do you want to leave a legacy? She said, well, I didn't even think about that. Well, I'd have to have somebody take care of my cat. And I'm thinking, oh no, I didn't think you were a crazy cat lady. And so she said, no, not by that. I want somebody to come in, take the cat, take care of him and stuff. I'm not paying for it. I just wanted to make sure the cat's taken care of. I said, well, what would you do with it? Where would you have that money go? And she said, I'm involved in this organization, in that organization at church. Could I do that? I said, absolutely. And so anyway, so we had that conversation. So that's her legacy. Same way with her house. She has that all lined up that if, something happens to her, it goes to one of the ministries at her church. And so those are some of the things that we will talk about in Financial Peace. There's other areas like investing, and I'm sure you've got some accounts set up, some investment accounts.
Yep.
And so, and investing, you leave to the professionals.
Right, exactly.
You don't play the stock market, do you?
No. I used to do just a very tiny amount of a couple $100 worth of something, but it's like, what's the point, really?
Yeah.
I'm nowhere near smart enough, or let's not say smart enough, but I'm nowhere near dedicated enough to learn what it takes to actually do that right. So yeah, that's why I let someone who is
you leave that to the professionals.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. On the other hand, you have to know the right questions to ask them, and you have to know what your goals for retirement are, where you're going with it, and what happens if you do get married, or when you do get married down the road. How's that going to merge, and how's that going to work?
Yeah, and that's part of where Financial Peace is really helpful, because it kind of it helps you understand what the questions are you should ask.
Right. So another area we'll get into is credit. When to use it, when not to use it, and what Dave says about it. And one of the areas that he gets really deep in is mortgages. And I didn't realize this until I took his class, but I always thought, you take a long, 30-year mortgage and lower payments and this, that, and the other. Well, that's not always the case.
Yeah. No, as far as I remember, he pretty much by default recommends a 15-year.
Yeah.
Which, honestly makes more sense to me. You pay less interest, which seems weird to me. You'd think the interest rate would be lower for the longer term because you're paying longer, but it's actually lower for the shorter term.
Yes, I know. It's crazy. And when we refinanced in Cheyenne, we refinanced our house up there. We had got into the house when rates were higher. So when we refinanced, rates were lower.
Yep.
And our payment went down. And so, it all works out. So we'll talk about mortgages. We'll talk about credit cards. We'll talk about interest, how over time with the investments, what your money doubles every 7 years, I think is what the
just don't look at it this particular year.
Yeah, you don't want to look. And here's the thing. When you start talking investments, it's long term.
Yeah.
You're in it for the long haul.
Yeah, 401k, IRA, any of that stuff, don't check on it every month. There's no point. You're only going to get upset when it goes down, and the feeling when it goes up isn't going to kind of offset that too much.
No, it's not.
It's for decades down the line. There's no point in keeping tabs on it now.
Right, yeah, and when you look at that and you decide what funds you're going to be, you're looking at a 10, 20-year history anyway.
Yeah.
So why would you look at today and it went down? I have a friend of mine who would check it every day.
Yeah.
They finally told him, you may make X amount of changes a year. Because he had made so many changes, they went in and said, no, you can't do this anymore.
No, that's how you shoot yourself in the foot,
It
because
is.
the entire point of picking these things is based on their long-term performance.
Yeah, and you're trying to outguess the market. You're trying to outguess the weather in some instances, and it just doesn't work. So we'll talk about things like that and how to prepare for retirement, how much money you really need to retire. If you're counting on part of your retirement being Social Security, okay, at what point in time do you actually use that? When does it make sense to retire early and take the money? How long do you have to live after that? There's a lot of stuff that people don't even think about when it comes to their financial future.
Yeah, I know there's a whole lot of stuff. Like, even I couldn't tell you the numbers offhand, but I'm sure the vast majority of Americans don't have a budget, because something like 64% live paycheck to paycheck.
It's closer to 80%.
Maybe it is. Yeah. Yeah, it's ridiculous. And that not having a budget is how you do that.
Exactly.
You know, I think the metaphor Dave Ramsey uses is, you don't start building a tower before you drop the blueprints.
Right.
You know, you got to have a plan for how you do things, or else it's just going to fall apart.
And the budget is the plan.
Yeah.
The budget is how you get there. I have clients. I have one gentleman who's a businessman, worth probably $30 million on paper.
Yeah.
$30 million on paper. That doesn't mean he can pay his household bills. And that was because he never lived on a budget.
Right.
You know, the money was always there. He makes good money. That's not the issue. The issue was he spends more than he makes. And so when he sat down and looked at it and did a budget, he does a budget every month now. Him and his wife sit down, they do the budget, and when mama says I need more money for this or whatever, then he figures out a way to do that. And that's why, if you're in a relationship, if you're married, you need to have that conversation and do the budget together.
Yeah, absolutely.
It doesn't work without it.
No.
We talk about student loans. And right now, you know, I have so many clients who are just waiting for Joe Biden to give up the student loan and say they don't have to pay it back.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't either.
So there are all sorts of plans out there that they will tell you when you sign up for a student loan that says, oh, if you work in this industry for so many years, or you go to this particular part of the country and work for 10 years and that, we will forgive your student loans. You got to read the fine print, because the percentage of student loans that get people who work 10 years making a lot less money than what they could have, and there was a little glitch along the way and they no longer qualify for that loan forgiveness. The government's not going to step in and say, oh no, it's okay. They're just going to say, no, you don't qualify. It's kind of like the no interest for 24 months.
I know, I love that.
No interest for 24 months. You go in and you buy all this furniture and you make the minimum payment. Well, the minimum payment is not going to pay you off in 24 months.
Tangent real quick. I just saw a sign by the side of the road advertising some sort of thing, maybe it's furniture, and it said prominently, no payments until 2023. So
here we are.
Basically, my first payment is next month, like every other loan.
Yeah. And the thing with that no interest, they set the payments low intentionally.
Yeah.
And what happens? Read the fine print. What happens? You get to that last month. If it's not paid off, the interest is retroactive.
Yeah, they charge all the back interest.
Yes, on the full balance.
Right.
And so folks, we go over a lot of stuff in financial peace. Alex is a very intelligent gentleman, and he has some really good ideas. We've been through this before together. I'm looking to having fun. Our desire here is that we do it what we call, it's not really a hybrid, but we really want you to watch the episodes online and then come in and we're going to talk about it. We're going to work through your budget. You can show us your numbers or not, but we will help you get them right. And so that it's called a zero balance budget. At the end of the month, it's zero. You told every dime where to go. It's not that you don't have any money. It's that you told every dime where to go.
Right. That doesn't mean that you spend all your money every month, of course.
Right. Exactly.
But it's basically the envelope system. Every single dollar that you get in needs to go into an envelope. You don't have to spend all of that envelope, but it needs to be assigned and told what it's going to do. Yeah. If not this month, then down the road for saving for down payment or whatever for a house.
If you don't tell your money where to go, it'd be like me pouring this water into my hand. And how long can I hold it?
Yeah.
It ain't going to stay there very long.
Yeah.
Right? So you're looking forward to this?
Absolutely.
February 9th, we decided that's our start date.
Yep.
So we would welcome you to, there'll be a link in the show notes to reach out to us so you can sign up for it. We'll have something online on the church website, the harborfl.org, right? Which Alex helps manage.
Yep.
And so you'll be able to sign up. And there will be a link on the Dave Ramsey website also once we set the dates and set everything up on Financial Peace University. So Alex, thanks for being on. I know you were a little nervous about getting in front of the camera because he's always behind the camera.
Yeah, never again.
Never. I don't know. I hear that you have to do some stuff for announcements and things like that. So you'll be in front of the camera again. So anyway, we'd like to thank you for listening. Remember, sign up for Financial Peace University. This has been Today is My Favorite Day with Alex Korn. This is Sam McKeown. Say goodbye. Live intentionally. Be very, very blessed, my friends.
Take care.
Thank you for listening to TIMFD, Today is My Favorite Day. Views, comments, and opinions are those of the host and guest alone, and Dave and Sam are solely responsible for the content of this podcast. TIMFD is produced and directed by Alex Korn. Music is composed and performed by Chuck Fott. Thank you for listening. Have a great day, live intentionally, and be very blessed.